Hey y'all, I'm Heather. Welcome to my channel, The Debt Free Quilter. I'm hiding again. Don't worry, the minions are taken care of. I promise. The hubby's home. um, Today we're going to work on cornerstones and sashing and layouts and sewing everything together. That's going to be this video, so it may wind up being a little bit longer. I appreciate your patience for that. So let's go ahead and get started. First things first, we gotta cut our sashing strips. What is the easiest sashing strip to probably cut? 2.5 inches. Yep, that's right. 2.5 inches by 10.5 inches. Of course, my blocks came out a little smaller, so that's gonna need a little adjusting, but I'll get there when I get there. Ooh, yay! Fussy cutting, cornerstones, yay! Getting all those multicolored birds to go with this multicolored flower quilt. How awesome is that? And time to lay out these quilts. Let's start with drop diamonds. Remember, if you don't like the layout, change it now, because once it's sewn in, it's going to be a little more difficult. And here is this lovely flower quilt. What do you guys think I'm going to name it? Put your guesses in the comments. Yes, I will also put the sashing strips along the bottom and the other side. I just didn't see a point in doing it right now. Putting together drop diamonds first, one row at a time. With this quilt, I found I had to flip a few seams for those flip corners just to reduce a little bit of the bulk. It made things go together much easier. Now that my top is complete, it's time to put my borders together. Now that everything is nicely pressed, let's get that first border attached. To save time, I finger press just a little bit at the end when I add the next strip on. Time for border number 2. And I'm attaching the second border the same way I did the first one. And who's ready to see the finished drop diamonds quilt? Now that drop diamonds is completed, it's time to add sashing to our flower blocks. Over in the background over there, you can see me actually cutting the sashing pieces for each block. Not that I'm measuring, but I know about where I need to be, so I just cut them at 10 inches. Now it's time to work on the cornerstone and sashing strips. There are 2 ways to do this. You can add the sashing between the blocks and create a row, and then create another row with your sashing strips and cornerstones. Or you can add the cornerstones and sashing strips to each block as you go. And so whichever way you want to do this. For this one and for time, I just chose to do it this way. And now let's turn all those blocks and sashing strips into rows. Obviously, because I'm only working with 16 blocks and 4 rows, that makes it kind of simple. 4 blocks per row. And now to add the sashing on the one side of the rows that didn't have it. And now to make that sashing strip for the bottom. Yes, I did this one by itself because it was just simpler to do so. Yay! Let's get this quilt together. And of course, like a dingbat, I forgot to press record when I was stitching these rows together. But hey, we get the finish. That's the important part. And yes, I did break my pins out for this because I wanted to make sure everything would come together as closely as humanly possible. Yay! Borders! Almost done! Now I'm attaching these borders the exact same way I did for drop diamonds and how I do for most of my quilts. For these borders I went with 5-inch borders for actually both quilts, just to make them about the same size. Alright, let's get it all pressed out and I'll show you the whole thing. Alright y'all, here we go. This is our beautiful flower quilt and it's time for me to tell you its name. May I present Isla's Garden. This quilt is for one of my nieces. She's the younger of the two and she deserves a quilt from her auntie. So this will go to the other side of the world to be with her once I get it quilted. It is heading to the long armor this weekend and I'm looking forward to see how this looks when it's 100% done. As you can see, I have used a variety of fabrics, a consistent, constant tone on tone in the background, and even a little tulle. So I hope that you all enjoyed making this as much as I did. It came out roughly 57 and a half square. If my measurements were actually correct, it would probably have come out about 60 inches square. Like I said, if my blocks had measured at 10 and a half, but they measured at 10, and that's fine. So these came out 9.5 inch finished. I actually like that the points are cut off in some places. It gives it more character. Overall, I am ecstatic with how this came out. So thank you for watching my journey while I made Isla's Garden. So y'all have a great day, have a great week. We'll catch you in the next video. Bye.